So in the math that you did above, or you're doing above, to calculate the amount of calories in the food that you burnt, we were using a specific formula, and that is that 1 calorie of energy is enough energy to increase the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. So that was our fact that we took, and we used the data that we collected in the lab to calculate how many calories of energy was in each food thing. Now, the math that we did gave us our answer in calories, which was a low, like this, calories. But there are a couple of other units that interact with when we talk about calories and food and energy. And that is, the first unit is the little c calorie that you calculated. The second unit is this. Looks the same, but the difference is that it has an uppercase C. And then the last unit that we talk about sometimes are kilocalories, which are abbreviated as kcals. All right, so what are all these units? We've got 3 different units here. I'm going to number them so we can talk about them separately. Number 1, the small c calorie. Number 2, the big C calorie. And number 3, the kcal, or the kilocalorie. Why is all this going on? All right, so first of all, the actual official unit for the metric unit for measuring this is the little c calorie. All right, so this is our official unit. It's official in, like, we have the meter for distance, we have the liter for volume, we have the gram for mass, which we talked about in earlier on when we introduced metric units in this class. The calorie is another unit, and it's for measuring energy. Meter, liter, gram, calorie. So it's a metric unit. And just like any other metric unit, we can put prefixes in front of it. So just like you can have kilometers and kilograms, you can have kilocalories. It means 1,000 of them all put together. You can also have milli and micro and nano. So you can have millimeters, you can have millicalories, you can have micrograms, you can have microcalories for a very small amount of energy. So number 1 and number 3, these are kind of talking about the same thing, calories and kilocalories. And the difference is that, or how they're related, is that you can say that 1,000 little c calories, all pushed together, all added up, makes 1 kilocalorie. All right, so really, if we were going to kind of summarize these together, this one and this one, they kind of go together, and they're basically they're the same, they're the metric units. All right, it's good. So, but we have this weird one in the middle, the uppercase C calorie. What is number 2? All right, so let's talk about that now. If you, the big C calorie is the unit that we use to measure the amount of energy in food in the United States. You're only going to see this unit, the uppercase C calorie, printed on food items that are sold here in the United States of America. Anywhere else where you buy food, and I have an example right here. So this is something very British. This is a Christmas pudding. All right, so this is something that was bought in England. You can really only buy these things in England. They're very British food. It's something that we eat at Christmas time. It's a dessert type of thing, like a very thick, rich fruit cake. Anyway, if we were to, so obviously this is not American. It was labeled and sold in the United Kingdom. And so if we will look at the food label on the back, which is right here, we can see that, if I can angle it right, I've highlighted it, the energy is labeled in kcals, right, kilocalories. And similarly, if you ever travel to Canada or Mexico, look at any of the food that you purchase there that's labeled for that market, you will see it's labeled as kcals, not as calories. However, if you buy something in America, here are some delicious cookies. It's got 100, and these cookies have 140 calories, uppercase C calories per serving. So what is this? What is this big C calorie? Well, the big C calorie is actually exactly the same as a kilocalorie. These two things are the same. So if I was to buy these cookies in America, it says they contain 140 calories with an uppercase C. If I was to buy these cookies in Mexico or Canada or England, it would say they have 140 kcals. So why on earth do we have a whole nother unit when we already have a totally good unit, the kilocalories? Why do we have to be special and have our own unit here? I don't really have a great explanation for that. The best thing that I've heard is that in general, in the United States, we're not very receptive to the metric system. And so the thought of labeling things as kilocalories is not very understood or accepted. And so if these cookies have 140 kilocalories in them, that's the same if we do the conversion as saying 140,000 little c calories. These two things are exactly the same, just two different units. These two things are the same, they're equal. However, the food manufacturers looked at this number, this 140,000, and thought, oh my gosh, we can't label food as having 140,000 calories in it. Nobody's going to buy it. Everyone's going to freak out. So scientists said, we'll just use kilocalories and label it as 140. But then the food manufacturer said, no, nobody in America likes the metric system. We can't use kilocalories. We're just going to come up with our whole own unit that just us will use. And we're going to say it's 140 big C calories. So we're special. We get to use the big C calories. Now, that's how you'll see things labeled in the grocery store. If you were to work in like a hospital ward or some kind of unit where people were on controlled diets, like maybe tube feeding, that kind of stuff, those diets are all formulated and they're labeled as, because it's scientific, they'll be labeled as kcals. So you have to understand that the kcal and a big C calorie is exactly the same. And we just see the big C calories in food labeling. So we can say that 1,000 little c calories equals 1 big C calorie, which is really strange to see, but that's how it goes. Or 1,000 little c calories equals 1 kilocalorie, and that's more metric kind of looking. So just a quick explanation. That explains why at the very end of the math process that you have to go through in this lab, you take your number that you calculate. The number you calculate is little c calories, and you have to divide it by 1,000 to convert it into big C calories, because we're looking at foodstuffs. That explains the last step of your math. I hope that was helpful.